All right, welcome back to the Department Podcast with Justin Valentovic, Jesse Norman, and Joe Paolantonio. We are back after a chaotic Week 12 of the NFL season. We're recording this Wednesday night because that's when Week 12 finally ended after a 6-day delay. The Ravens-Steelers finally played, so we waited for that, but it's hard to believe that Thanksgiving was still a part of this week just because of how long it's been. And that's why, that and a portion of, just schedules. That's why this podcast got delayed a little bit on release. But nonetheless, we are here for week 12. And this seems what the COVID season could have been if it went to hell earlier on. And this is easily what it could have been. And thankfully, we avoided it for the most part. But guys, what's going on?
This was such a bad week.
COVID week. I think that's the best way to put it.
Thanksgiving games were ugly. The COVID outbreak, of course.
They always are, though. They always are.
Sunday
Why
night
do we
football
always
was
get
ugly.
the Cowboys and Lions?
Other than like week 2 when everyone and their uncle got injured, this was probably the second black eye on this NFL season of being a train wreck.
Oh, yeah.
Sunday night football was bad.
Time.
Monday night football was a disaster. Wednesday afternoon football the games weren't even good. Like the games were ugly. Even the good games were ugly. No.
And the Thanksgiving games
about this week.
We just need to get rid of, I know, traditions and whatnot, but it's like, can we please get rid of the Lions? Because they have a sub 500 record on Thanksgiving. Like, what does it matter at this point? Who cares? It's just, oh boy, but Thanksgiving was 6 days away at this point, and we're here to break down week 12. There's only 3 of us this episode, just for other commitments and whatnot, but let's start with Joe Powell. We go in order, not in order, but whatever the Zoom window is, and we just pick games and we talk about it. So, Joe, you're leading things off.
So this is so yikes. So I'm gonna go with the best game probably on paper.
There was one of those this week.
I mean, technically this was supposed to be a good game. It wasn't really that good, but the score makes it look good. Chiefs 27, Buccaneers 24. I mean, this game, it's Brady, it's Mahomes, it's close at the end, but this was the most lopsided 27-24 game, I think, in NFL history. By the first quarter, the Chiefs went all gas, and then that was it. They went pedal to the metal. They absolutely destroyed. Tyreek Hill had probably the best receiving quarter in NFL history. The Buccaneers secondary looks like it got gutted with a machete. It is an absolute disaster. And I mean, all right, Tom Brady, touchdown Tom in legitimate garbage time. It's fine.
It was garbage time after the second quarter, essentially, because that's when Tyreek Hill had over 200 yards receiving and 2 touchdowns at that point, and they were just in cruise control. If they legitimately tried, he could have put up over 400 yards of offense, but they didn't have to, and he went. But it just shows how much better the Chiefs are than everyone else. Because we haven't seen the matchup against Pittsburgh yet, but anyone in the NFC, I don't see them beating Kansas City in a potential Super Bowl matchup. And honestly, the Bucs are a mess.
Yeah, I think even above that, we already know how good the Chiefs are. This, to me, and I've been skeptical of the Bucs the whole year just because of the coaching fit, Brady joining and running a different offense than basically what they've ran, both coach and quarterback, the entire time of their careers. But this proves to me they are not in that upper echelon of contenders. They are outside. I don't want to call them pretenders because they're going to be in the playoffs. They might win a game, but and it's hard to say again because the NFC is just so much weaker than the AFC this year, I think. But even if Tampa is the number 1 team in the NFC somehow when it's all said and done, and somehow makes it to the Super Bowl, I think they would get absolutely destroyed in the Super Bowl by either Kansas City, Pittsburgh, or one of the other AFC teams.
And week by week, it's just proving that Brady just doesn't fit Arians' scheme of wanting to push the ball downfield and having a bigger arm quarterback. They have the playmakers that can spread the field and stretch the field downfield, but they just simply can't with Tom Brady.
Yeah, no, there's no argument to be had where with the Patriots, everybody was like, oh, Brady doesn't have any weapons there. Yeah, Cam Newton's there and still doesn't have any weapons. New England still doesn't have weapons regardless. But Tampa has weapons. That is obvious. They even added Antonio Brown. They brought Gronk in. They have all this talent at every single level. All I hear about is how much of a godsend Tristan Wirfs is all the time, and he's on Rookie of the Year power rankings over a guy like Chase Claypool, who's caught 10 touchdowns or, has a multitude of 10 touchdowns with the rushing and everything. But this is supposed to be an incredible team. This is supposed to be this great, great team. And besides when they're beating up on bad teams and the 1 week where Aaron Rodgers just checked out, when have they really looked like a fantastic team besides that 1 week?
Yeah, if the pass rush doesn't get there initially with Shaq Barrett and whatnot, and JPP, even for the Bucs, the defense doesn't work. It falls apart. So let's move things on to Jesse.
All right. All right. This one I got to talk about. I'm sorry, Justin, but the Titans. Boy. Oh God, they humbled the Colts. They
smacked
really
us back
did.
down to earth.
And
shut my ass up.
It's what the Titans do different than any other team in the league, and it is just pound the ball with Derrick Henry. The thing is, like with a lot of teams, when the philosophy is pounding the ball, it's all right, get through a couple drives here and there. The defense gets tired, and then, keep going. The defense will eventually break. By like the second drive when you're playing Tennessee, after you've had to already tackle Derrick Henry like 3-4 times, you're already bruised up. You're already gassed. The Colts, by the end of the game, did not want anything to do with Derrick Henry. They were tired of tackling this guy.
And I'm not one to make excuses. I mean, I am. But when the Colts, they had a bit of a COVID issue, and when your main source of, stopping the run is DeForest Buckner, and he was unavailable, and, Costanzo goes down, Kelly didn't even dress because of injuries, it just fell apart, and it was just a bad week between COVID and injuries, and matchup wise for a recipe for disaster for the Colts, because when your defense gets gutted up the middle, that's not how you stop Derrick Henry.
Yeah, and I think it felt like a game that the Colts kind of just sent in before it even really got going. And that's never a good sign when it's for the division.
Yeah, it seemed like once Henry ripped off one of his two for like one of the 3 touchdowns, they kind of just, I'm not saying phoned it in, but you could tell they're like, all right, we can start going home now. It was that kind of mentality of that game.
And the Colts' strength is never the offense. So once they're playing from behind, it's not a good thing.
Phil Rivers thinks he can win with his arm from behind. He can't. He'll make it interesting.
No.
He'll either get you back in the game or dig you deeper into a ditch. And when Derrick Henry was just running you down your throat and you couldn't stop a nosebleed, what do you expect at that point? And this is the result that was going to happen. And quite frankly, I kind of saw it coming. And the Colts, honestly, the Colts kind of needed this because they were riding a hot streak. They were doing really well, but they kind of needed to get punched in the mouth and slapped around a little bit to get ready for the playoffs, because this is who they could potentially face, or these are the type of teams they'll have to beat if they want to go on a run.
I want to talk about guaranteeing the Colts a playoff berth, which is very nice. I don't know. I mean, first of all 3 facets of the game, offense, defense, and special teams, embarrassing effort by the Colts. So their next 5 games, they have to play Jacksonville again, which was no tall task the first time, weirdly, but they should get through it. But then, we'll talk about Houston soon, but they seem to be getting a little things together. I know there's been some suspensions, but I mean, Houston's clicks a little bit on offense. There's no guarantee that Houston's a sweep.
They're not a guaranteed win.
And then the Raiders.
No, especially with Watson.
If the Raiders of this week show up, then it's a little bit better. But the Raiders have been consistently good throughout the week, like the season. Like,
the Raiders are going to be coming on. It's not going.
Raiders are going to be fighting for a playoff spot.
Yeah. So to guarantee the Colts a playoff spot right now and say that they need this is a little obtuse. Just kind of like, oh, we'll get in there, we'll be fine. Like, because then, like, even if the Colts do make the playoffs, they're going to have to face either the Titans, the Steelers, the Chiefs. So, like, enjoy it. Enjoy it on the road. So, I mean,
as of right now, for me, this firmly establishes Tennessee as the 3rd team. They've had their issues. I have my problem with Tennessee. I think there's some weeks that they just show up and don't really play. I think they have some issues. I don't think they're the best X's and O's team, but they're super talented. Tannehill does enough, and Derrick Henry is what I would argue is quite literally the only franchise running back in the NFL right now. And he's carrying a team, and I would firmly put them at number 3 in the AFC, and they're probably the number 3 team overall in the league for me right
And
now.
last point for me on this game, it seems like once Derrick Henry gets closer to playoff time, like once December, late November hits, he just flips a switch and
Once
just
guys are
turns into a
tired, guys are tired. Yeah. No, Adrian Peterson used to do this down the stretch too. Guys are tired towards the end of the season. They don't want to play those bruising running backs, and Derrick Henry feasts off of it. I mean, you can't bring a guy like Derrick Henry down with arm tackles. You're not doing it. It takes
You have to just push him out of bounds. That's the only way. That's the only way you can do it. And the thing that makes Derrick Henry different than like the other great running backs, your Saquon Barkley's, your Ezekiel Elliott, the guys that get a lot of attention or have a lot of attention, is that it's their stats. Everyone else, other great running back stats are padded by one rip-off 45 yarder a game. Derrick Henry consistently getting 8-9 yards a carry, and it starts from the beginning and it doesn't end the entire game. That's the difference. He just pounds and pounds and pounds. He's not getting tackled for losses. He's not waiting for the hole to open up.
He's just bursting through, and he will rip off. We've seen him do it in past games already. He'll rip off 90+ yard runs with ease and run away with significant leads on any of the defenders.
But that game, his 178 yards were spread throughout all of his carries.
Yeah, it wasn't just one bulk
90-yard
run, and then he had another 60 on top of it. But with that, I'm going to keep it within the South and talk a little bit about a Thanksgiving game. The Texans absolutely going into Detroit and handing the Lions a nice L, and also handing Matt Patricia a pink slip. He finally
his walking papers.
Got fired. Thank God. It's been long overdue. Boy, the Lions, they are longing for those 9-7 seasons that Jim Caldwell was delivering to them year in and year out, and what got him fired. But Deshaun Watson, as long as he's there in Houston, they are going to be a competitive team, and he'll keep them in ball games. And, they had 2 players hit with PEDs, one being Will Fuller, who absolutely had a game also. And just a funny little side note is Brian Cushing is a assistant strength and conditioning coach, and he was, there was steroids and PEDs surrounding him throughout his entire career. So that's just a little funny tidbit there. But Deshaun Watson, he's an elite quarterback. The Texans, fine. This was a Thanksgiving game that we expected to go this way, and it happened. It's as simple as that. The Lions are not a good team. They're bad. It's official. Their season's done, because really until Thanksgiving, it's kind of a toss-up. They're dead and done.
Yeah. Does Detroit move on from Stafford now? Do we think they tear it down? I don't know if they do.
This would be Stafford's third coach, fourth coach, because you have Schwartz, Caldwell, Patricia.
Schwartz was so bad the whole time too.
Yeah, but still, he would be going on his fourth or fifth
Stafford,
coach.
I mean, you can't look at the team and.
No, I like Stafford. He's been a consistent quarterback.
No, I like Stafford as well.
But
I think he fits much better. Like, if you put Stafford on the Colts, like, they're a legit team. If you put Stafford on the Bears, legit team. Like, Stafford's a good quarterback, and that's why if I'm a team like Indianapolis and like Chicago, I would absolutely call Detroit, and I would offer up a 2nd-round pick for him, a 3rd-round pick for him, and I would get a franchise guy for 3-4 years at least.
If I'm the Cowboys and I'm looking at Dak Prescott walking out the door potentially, that could be an interesting fit. If that could happen. I mean, we're gonna enter. I mean, this seems like the season of interim head coaches, right? So I guess Darrell Bevell is going to pull off some rapid streak.
Bevell was supposed to be a guy that was interested in head coaching positions back when he ran the Seahawks offense.
So
He
I
got
mean,
a
we're gonna
lot
prove
of
that.
yeah.
And I mean, until the Texans hopefully inevitably, pick up Eric Bieniemy to coach Deshaun Watson, this team is going to be fine. Well, I mean, it's whatever. This doesn't really have that big of an impact on anything. I think this is one of the best games I've seen Deshaun Watson play as a pro. Wow. I mean, and Will Fuller too. It's a nice way to end the season, though. If
Oh,
you're gonna do it,
absolutely.
right?
And with that, let's end this game and move on to we're back to Joe.
All right, we're back to me. So I am going to go with Monday Night Football. Not quite sure what I was watching. Many people weren't. This was a big thing. Is that this was like the most talked about game because of Carson Wentz. I've never heard a quarterback get this much press, this much hubbub. Like it's been all Carson Wentz. If you turn on any of the ESPNs and the FS1s, it's like he dominates their discussion. Very intriguing. I mean, yeah, like they threw Jalen Hurts in there, but it was weird. Like you saw him a couple times. He was
Threw him in
on and
for
off.
2 plays.
Yeah, like
He
he
handed
threw
the
one
ball off
completion.
once
Yeah,
and threw one pass.
You know,
Yeah.
they threw him in and it was like, all right, this is his time. And then there was a pre-snap penalty, completion out of bounds, and then never see him again. Yanked him.
It's
So,
amazing how in Philadelphia, right, they win a Super Bowl, first one in franchise history. 3 years later, all right, let's get the quarterback, the coach, let's get rid of him. You know, we saw it in New York where Eli won 2 and he, was riding, on easy street for the rest of his career. It could just be simply it's time to clean house. And, Jalen Hurts was brought in maybe not as an insurance policy, but maybe as the replacement to Wentz. But at the same time, if they haven't put Wentz in yet, that means Hurts must be pretty bad because how much worse could it be? And how do you expect a quarterback?
I disagree. I don't think Hurts is bad. I think Doug Peterson is an absolutely terrible talent evaluator, and I have much to back this up. Look at the receivers he continuously puts out there. He would put guys like Alshon Jeffrey out there who have been washed for years.
He hasn't done
over
anything.
Young guys. He continuously tries to put other running backs out there that are just not as productive as Miles Sanders. He just takes Sanders off all the time for absolutely no reason. Dallas Goedert is incredibly productive as a tight end. He tries to work Richard Rodgers into the game plan so much more than him. It doesn't make any sense. I think Peterson is an absolutely terrible talent evaluator. So I don't know what they have in Jalen Hurts, and I don't think they know what they have in Jalen Hurts.
And I think it was honestly kind of a kiss of death to literally put up a statue the season after they won a Super Bowl with Peterson there, because that's just you're asking for it at that point.
I stand by. I said this as soon as they won the Super Bowl, the season following the Super Bowl, and every season since. I'm sorry, when are you guys going to get over winning that Super Bowl? Like how many teams have won it since then?
Well, that's the thing.
That's the difference. That's the difference between a good organization and a great organization. You win a Super Bowl, first thing you do, you go back and try to win another one. You celebrate a little bit. Yeah, you don't spend an entire offseason and following regular season just celebrating this Super Bowl.
We still hear more from Eagles fans, Eagles community about that Super Bowl than the Chiefs, who actually won the Super Bowl in this calendar year. Legitimately.
Yes.
So like you honestly could forget that the Chiefs are reigning Super Bowl champions, but you're not going to forget that the Eagles won in 2017 season. So yes, Carson Wentz is mentally and physically broken. And there's no denying about that he has regressed into a shell of himself. But there's also no denying that you watch a guy like first-round pick Jalen Reagor, who is literally nothing.
Jalen Reagor is just John Ross. Just slower and just doesn't do it.
I've seen John Ross. I've at least seen with my own eyes John Ross get some semblance of separation. Jalen Reagor is nothing. He is a non-starter.
And all the picks that they've made to try to help Wentz have just been bad and haven't done anything.
Disaster.
No, they're not. That's the thing. If you look at like every draft pick that the Eagles have made over the past like 3 years, you will not find a Pro Bowler. You will not find anything. Like, you won't. They're all terrible for the most part. They have no idea how to evaluate talent. They've never moved on from the Super Bowl. And just there was another team they played in this game, the Seattle Seahawks. And I just want to say the Seahawks defense looks better than it has before. I said I think as the season goes on, they were going to get better. They made the trade for Carlos Dunlap. Jamal Adams is back, and he's pretty healthy, getting more healthy every single week. And while the Eagles' offense looked bad, I think it looked even worse based off of this pass rush that Seattle got going. Because right now, Seattle has a very, very real pass rush.
And all they added was Carlos Dunlap.
In the NFC, Carlos Dunlap and Jamal Adams back healthy.
Yeah.
And they have LJ Collier, who was their first round pick last year, playing better. And they have a couple rookies and some young guys on the line that can rotate in and out. And in the NFC, where the only team with a really good line is the Saints, you're setting yourself up to really compete with a lot of teams. And the Seahawks did look fantastic here because it was an ugly win. They handed the ball off a lot. They got chunk plays from DK Metcalf. And by the way, Darius Slay, what a terrible game he had.
One of the worst PFF grades, I'm sure.
It's not even I'm sorry, but like, I don't even blame him as much anymore. If you're the defensive coordinator, Jim Schwartz, how are you putting him one-on-one with DK Metcalf?
Boy, I'm not saying
DK
it because
Metcalf is absolutely dogging him. You just decide, no, I'm not going to give him safety help. I'm not going to help double cover him. I'm not going to help Darius Slay. Just one-on-one. Like, he's getting 100+ yards put up on him.
And of course,
Jim Schwartz is giving him absolutely no help.
And Schwartz gave DK Metcalf bulletin board material when he said he's not Megatron. Obviously, he meant to say like he's not him yet.
Okay.
But still, it's like, oh boy, you really just.
I mean, like, all right, like I understand DK was like took it personally, but like, I mean,
it's like the Michael Jordan memes from
this current moment.
It's like the Last Dance memes where it's like I took that personally.
When you're DK Metcalf and the media has fallen in love with you so much, you need those little things to give you that chip. So Jim Schwartz went out there and said, "You're not Calvin Johnson. I'm gonna single cover you all night with Darius Slay."
Because that worked for anyone who ever tried to do that with Calvin Johnson.
And DK just absolutely ate them up.
And
Chris Carson looks good.
Yep, they got a good run game.
He looks healthy.
The Seahawks are clicking on all cylinders, and not because I'm a Colts fan, but boy, is Frank Reich must be happy to get the hell out of there because that is a sinking ship. That's really when it started to fall apart too. Just saying. But let's move things along to Jesse.
Yeah. So, all right. I mean, we just watched this game. It was on a little bit ago. Steelers Ravens.
Oh boy. Wednesday night,
Wednesday afternoon football.
A matinee, as the theater community says. Right, Joe?
It wasn't necessarily pretty.
It's what you expected a football game to look like.
Are 11-0.
We got RG3 and Trace McSorley. That's it. It's what you expected a game with a team who got wiped out because of COVID to have to play 6 days later on a Wednesday afternoon to look like.
And then they're eventually going to have to go play again in like another 4 or 5 days.
On Tuesday.
So
I think. I don't know. The schedule's all
Monday.
Oh, God.
Pretty sure it's Monday.
The schedule's a mess, but this game was just bad. Good for the Steelers. I really don't think anyone can beat them at this point.
Bud Dupree, rest in peace. That's tough.
Yeah,
Bud Dupree tore his ACL reportedly.
Yeah. Oof.
So that's what they reported. That's a big loss. He'll probably come back again on another 1-year deal since he was franchise
just to
tagged.
prove it. Yeah. And also, you can franchise tag a linebacker for pretty cheap.
Yeah. Well, I think we need to talk about like the Ravens are so blessed to have like not one good team left on their schedule for the rest of the year. Like the best team they play is Cleveland. They Jacksonville, Cincinnati. They should win pretty much every game down the stretch. So they're lucky. They're lucky. Again, I don't care if Lamar Jackson wasn't in. I don't know if it would have made that much of a difference. This team just does not have what it did last year. This team is not the same. And if the Steelers receivers, Ebron and Deontay Johnson in particular, knew how to catch, just quite literally caught
Welcome
the
to my
balls that were thrown
2019
to them.
season of Ebron not learning how to catch. It's infuriating.
The Steelers have easily like 10 more points if they just know how to catch.
If it's third and anything,
Deontay Johnson dropped a touchdown and a first down. Ebron dropped 2 first downs, and Claypool dropped a first down. And those were just off the top of my head. And they were given to them perfectly.
For Eric Ebron,
if the Steelers receivers catch, this is an even further apart game.
Ebron, if it's 3rd and 10 or 3rd and 5, and he has no one between the numbers to the sideline, it's just him, he will not catch it. It will fall incomplete. Doesn't matter how open he is. Oh God, that was the worst.
Jack Doyle, he's still better than Jack Doyle.
Right, let's relax.
Look, if John Harbaugh didn't have what appeared to be a mental lapse, momentary absence of thought at the end of the first half, maybe there's a different story being told. Maybe there's a different piece to be written, because I don't really know what happened. It all happened really fast, and then they ended up not scoring any points while being on the half-yard line. So there's no excuse to be made for that. I mean, that's on the coach, which is probably the only consistent thing that the Ravens have had throughout this entire week, was the fact that John Harbaugh was going to be coaching the game. But again, even that doesn't seem to be the blessing that many think it is. Look, they held in there. It was not a lopsided affair. It never will be between these two teams, I don't think. So, I mean, if you're Baltimore, you have an easy schedule left. You played hard against an undefeated team, with, at the end, Trace McSorley and only really one running back. So look, you're not gonna punch a hole in the wall if you're a Ravens fan, that you knew you were gonna lose. And if you are the Steelers, you better hope the loss comes soon, because they have. I honestly, if I was Steelers, I'd rather have them lose in the regular season and just get it out of the way, because the way they're playing and the way they have played, it's so like it's gonna happen at some point. So like, I'd rather just go 15-1, go to the playoffs without that pressure.
Yeah, it's just one added storyline that you just don't want to have around.
Yeah,
but let's get back to moi, and then let's keep it on the COVID disaster of this week. And we got to talk about it, so let's just get to this game. Saints and Broncos, neither team really played with a quarterback. More importantly, the Broncos didn't even have someone with any really professional quarterback experience take snaps. They had a third string practice squad wide receiver is basically.
Can't delay the game. Cannot delay it. Absolutely not. Can't delay the game. Under no circumstances, unless the Ravens players ask, can we delay that game for them?
Yeah, the biggest storyline from this game is that the Broncos were forced to play, and it's amazing how the reward for the rest of the Broncos containing it and only having one position wiped out, being 4 players, their reward is they have to be then played without said position. But a team who's decimated across the board, they have to get their game moved multiple times rather than just give up the forfeit. But why not? Let's have the Broncos play. And if anyone who doesn't say it's not a money thing, it's a strict money thing, that's why this game was played. And that's why the Ravens were pushed around.
If you want to complain so much about not having a quarterback, how about the Saints, who were playing without a quarterback as well?
Well, that's what I was saying.
They won 31-3. So I mean, this was a game that legitimately had no quarterback on either side of the ball.
No.
So that was actually pretty cool. Like if like just like from
This
like
was a
a
legitimate like high school
SB
football
Nation
game.
sort of like cool video, like that we'll hear about like 30 years from now. It's like the time that the like
Yeah.
but
the
Yeah.
day no
No
quarterback
fans and no
played.
quarterback.
it'll be like a children's book about it. It'll be
It was
cute.
the rewind.
I mean,
videos.
Kendall Hinton, I mean, like, I understand.
He gave it the
like,
old
okay,
college try.
I
He
get
completed a pass.
Kendall Hinton being, like, praised, getting a, but, like, I think the media needs to pump the brakes. They are giving him so much of, like, this showering of love and affection. Like, I understand the guy played quarterback in college, and then they just threw him in from the practice squad as a receiver, but he is, like, he's like on every like NFL put him on like their Instagram page, and like people were like retweet like he really battled today. I mean, okay, the guy went 1 for 9 in 2 picks. Like it's like, I mean, if he like, I get that, like if the hype, if they won the game or he like had like a 200 yards passing, then yes, do a backflip. But come on, look, the Saints are the third best team in football. Latavius Murray comes out and has a heck of a game, just proving that
His
the
best game since
Saints
being
are
a Raider.
just so deep. That's the thing about this. It's just so deep, and the defense is just like this game. You can't really evaluate them, but lately the defense has been so good.
Yeah,
And
it was.
they're
Granted, if
such-
Drew Lock was under center, it still would have been the same result. So it doesn't really matter on that end.
Literally would not have changed.
Just a fun
I just
fact:
don't know if
the
Brett Rice
Buccaneers put the same amount of points up as the quarterback-less Broncos against the Saints. So that's some food for thought. And they have Tom Brady.
It's true.
Saints are such a good team. Like, I mean, I understand that like the two teams in the AFC are probably better, but the Saints are such a good roster.
No, absolutely.
Like, wow.
But they're a quarterback away. We'll see. We'll see what happens there.
And with that, let's take a short break. When we come back, we'll blow through the rest of the games. And we're entering the part of the podcast where it's just brutal games to talk about, but we'll be right back. Stay tuned. All right, welcome back to the Department Podcast with Justin Valentovic, Jesse Norman, and Joe Paolantonio. We're back to break down the rest of the games of Week 12 of the NFL season, and we're in the part of the podcast where these games are just brutal to talk about, so we're going to try to get through them as quick and efficiently as we can, because quite frankly, a lot of these games, they suck to watch and they'll suck to talk about, and we're leading things off. I think we're back to Joe, right?
Yes. Okay. I'm so happy because I have a perfect segue because you said quick and efficient, and I'm going to go with the opposite of quick and efficient. Rams, 49ers. This guy is so bad at quarterback that Sean McVay, who is just so nice and will never say anything bad about anyone and is so player friendly, outwardly is bashing the guy. Like, how bad do you have to be? But then like even talking about benching him, and I'm like, finally, it's just so nice to see because for years, people were like, oh, he's really good. Like, he's not good. He's not good. And he loses them games actively. Like, he is costing them games. And he is in such a situation with the antenna in his head, like very SpongeBob-esque when he was taking the driving test. And it's all perfect. It's all laid out for him. He's like a child. He's like, here, Jared. No, you're going to go here now. You're going to look here and you're going to... He's so bad. And
this
the 49ers
game was
are
just
in the playoff hunt despite being riddled by injuries because, they're a good team and they're well coached. And Kyle Shanahan head-to-head against Sean McVay dogs him every time.
Well, then you're exactly right, Joe, because Nick Mullins is a product of the Shanahan system, as is Jimmy Garoppolo. You could take Nick Mullins, Jimmy Garoppolo, switch them in and out, same results. Same quarterback, same results.
I don't really care. I don't like it's just whatever. I mean, they're good. This is a good team. This is a good team who have been riddled by injuries and have had scheduling.
And that's been
now they're of a break.
Roadblock. Well, do you see now
Disfortune.
now they're packing up and moving to Arizona for the rest of the season. Did you guys see that? Because Santa Clara County doesn't want them play. They don't want any contact sports. So we got the Arizona 49ers, baby.
This game helped the Seahawks a lot.
It did.
It helped them a lot here. Jared Goff's not a good quarterback. Funny enough, him and Wentz were the first two quarterbacks taken. They're both not good. So
At the same time, at the very same time.
Boy,
at the very same time,
it's like how,
and both got mega contracts. Both have made Super Bowls.
Okay, but Wentz has exhibited talent in his career. I'm not going to do a
was
Wentz
Goff
debate
at
right
times.
now.
Yeah, Wentz had an MVP type season before he got hurt. Jared Goff led them to a Super Bowl and has been bad since.
Yeah, no.
I think they're pretty similar.
Chicken and the egg at this point. Chicken and the egg at this point.
Yeah.
led them to the Super Bowl, guided them.
Helped them.
He was on the team that made it to the
if
Super
the
Bowl.
Rams, if the Rams miss out on a wild card, this will be
49ers
the
are going to be, yep. This will be the game that lost it for them.
Yeah, if they miss out on a wild card spot, blame this game. And let's move things on to Jesse because I don't want to talk about this game anymore. We're on to a new one.
All right, my prediction for the winner of the NFC least, Washington football team, ladies and gentlemen. God, they really gave it to the Cowboys. They really gave it to the Cowboys. Andy Dalton's not very good. The Cowboys team is not very good as constructed. Ezekiel Elliott is washed. I think their receivers are well overstated. Not saying that they're not good. It's just how much does that actually help you win games? Because as of right now, them and like the Vikings have some of the best receivers in the NFL. Both of them not really good. I think having premier receivers on a really good team is something that can put you over the top. But I don't think that's where you should start building your team is with receivers. And that's kind of what Dallas has done this year. They also don't have a quarterback who can throw it to them. They're not well coached. They're not really good at anything. And Washington is just a disciplined team that's not going to make too many mistakes. They have a great coach. They have what is feeling like a really good running back in Gibson. And they have pieces all around. And it feels like they're coming together more than other teams do, more than bad teams normally do towards the end of the season. They just have a lot of pieces lying around that they're really making work.
Yeah, and the thing with Washington that's actually made them somewhat, I'm not going to say respectable of a team, but not as much of a dumpster fire as they has been in the past 2-3 years. It's Ron Rivera. He at least brought some semblance of structure to this team. And same with Jack Del Rio. He's a good defensive coordinator, and he has a good young defensive line to work with. And I really like Antonio Gibson. And quite frankly, he's carrying the offense enough to where Alex Smith can just manage the game, not have to win it himself, and they're okay. They're taking care of the ball. And this has been Alex Smith coming back has been a blessing to them because it's made them a lot more competitive. Because if you had Kyle Allen or Dwayne Haskins, you're at 2 wins, if that. Granted, you're still you're running then for the East still, but they're nowhere near where they are now.
Look, there's not much to say about this game. There's not much for me to say about the Cowboys. There's really only one thing that I want to say, and one thing that I have to say. It's that watching Antonio Gibson in the Washington football team offense really reminds me of watching Christian McCaffrey in the Panthers offense. And this guy is a rookie. This guy is explosive in the passing game. This guy is a dominant runner. And from the beginning, you had to be taking this young gentleman seriously because they all told you that this guy was going to be a stud. I'm just really happy. I'm just such a big fan.
Yeah,
good
and
fantasy player.
Yeah, I know. I was so happy when I had Watson and Cooks on Thanksgiving, and then turn around and see Antonio Gibson close the gap within 20. Still got the win though. Sorry about that one, Joey. But
I told you I was going to rest my play.
And then that let me jump you in the playoffs too.
It doesn't
because
matter.
I won head to head. Yeah, but I also got the first round bye too.
Yeah, that's all that matters.
But
I think I stayed put somehow. I remember it was baseball where I won the last week and then dropped out of the playoffs somehow.
Cares.
But
who won our baseball league?
You did, Joe. How many refunds did you ask for? But let's move things on to the Packers and the Bears. Aaron Rodgers had a great game, and the Bears continue to just run around without an idea of who their quarterback's going to be because big Mitch Trubisky's coming back. And boy, Matt Nagy is he's pulling at straws at this point, hoping to save his job whichever way possible, because it's just been a mess in Chicago. They haven't been able to move the ball. The defense is okay, but it's here nor there. They can't run the ball. They can't pass the ball. They can barely pump the ball. They can kick the ball, but that's about it.
The problem is, I don't think Matt Nagy's a bad coach. I think he doesn't have a quarterback. He doesn't have a running back. He doesn't really have a good offensive line.
He has Allen Robinson, and that's it.
And Allen Robinson's not as great as people remember.
Allen Robinson has had such a Allen Robinson has such a productive career for having terrible quarterbacks.
Yeah, absolutely. But
it's a situation where it's like Allen Robinson is almost gifted by the fact that he's never had a good quarterback, because he can just say, and his fans can say, well, he's never had a good quarterback and he's done all this. It's like people make do with bad quarterbacks.
When you look at his quarterbacks going back to college, Christian Hackenberg at Penn State, Blake Bortles, Nick Foles, Mitch Trubisky, it's like, oh boy. And then meanwhile you have Wes Welker, who went from Brady to Manning.
This game doesn't really matter. The Packers are a really good team. I'm not gonna base them really give them a lot of praise. They deserve praise, but it was the Bears who are just a team in decline. The Bears aren't good. Trubisky is better than Foles, I think, but it doesn't matter. And that's it. It's analysis.
Yeah. Also, didn't Allen Robinson he wasn't traded? He signed to the Bears in 2018.
Yeah, he willingly
you can't complain about the quarterback. You signed on. Yeah, you agreed to join this team.
Wasn't it Antro Roll who said he'll let God decide what team he'll go for, and flights to Chicago popped up on his phone, and that's why he signed with them? I thought it was something like that, but
I liked him. I really did like him.
He was good for the Giants, but
it was good.
Let's move things along. We're back to Joe, right? Because I picked this game. Yeah.
Yeah.
Boy, we're just flying through these.
All right, we're gonna fly through. We're gonna fly through a little more. We're gonna go with. We're gonna talk about. We praise the football team. First NFC. No, the first place team in the NFC East. The team is the New York Football Giants, who, despite losing Danny Dimes, Colt McCoy comes in and almost blows it, but the Giants looked okay. The Giants somehow.
No, you said you didn't want to make the playoffs.
Joe,
You've been saying this.
Joe, are you at this point like how I am with the
spearheading?
Joe, aren't you like me? I feel like you're having the same.
It's gonna
feeling
happen anyway.
You're having the same feeling I did with the Orioles, where you went into the season expecting nothing, and now you can almost taste the playoffs, and you're close to it. So at this point, why not just fully commit and go?
You have to understand. Yes, exactly. I by no means want them to make the playoffs. I haven't wanted them to make the play because this is ridiculous. But it looks like it's gonna happen, and I either have to like
Joe Judge just bought himself 5 years.
Oh, Dave Gettle. I don't really care about Joe Judge. Right? It's getting rid of Gettleman, who's gonna end up staying.
They won't fire him, but
if they make the playoffs.
Well, because here's the thing: it's his coach and his quarterback.
He's saying if they make the playoffs. Yep.
Yeah, look, if
Mara said
you can't fire that guy.
Mara told him he has to get the batting average up. Well, getting the playoffs, into the playoffs has to be a double, and you got
this is by
percentage
default. Up. The Giants are going to win.
The fact that the NFC East is coming down to Colt McCoy, Andy Dalton, Alex Smith, and a mentally broken Carson Wentz is just so bad.
If the Giants compete next week against the Seahawks,
can we also talk about how the Giants struggled though against the Bengals?
Well, okay,
outside of the Bengals were playing without number 1 overall pick Joe Burrow.
Things got a little screwy toward the end, but
or Joe Mixon.
Outside of the kickoff return in the first quarter, that really the Bengals did not. If you're a Bengals fan, that was probably the most brutal thing you ever had to sit through. Because outside of that, there was nothing exciting.
Last season must have been painful.
This is bad. That was a bad. The Giants really didn't play great, but they had a good first half, and then they just rode that, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. They won. They're going to win the division by default, and we'll see if they compete with Seattle next week. Then then I guess they deserve to win the division.
Compete by what? Lose in less than 10?
Yes.
Yeah, if they play like they played against the Rams earlier in the season,
Okay.
then fine. Or
Because
if they
really,
played against the Bucs.
the only game the Giants haven't been in was the 49er game. And at that point, it was just a lost cause. But
what does that say about the 49ers? Okay, continue.
no, yeah.
Mhm.
Whatever. Let's continue.
We already said that 49ers will be good next year. Good for the Bengals that they're in pace for the number 3 overall pick. They can take the number 1 tackle on the board. So, or
Yeah,
whatever
and
lineman they think is the
and-
best.
And that's what they need. So let's move things along back to Jesse.
All right. So Falcons Raiders.
You can't make fun of the Falcons this week. You can't make fun of the Falcons this week.
I mean, okay, I'll just make fun of the Raiders.
That's fine.
Because they're the team that got beaten up on by the Falcons. Like, again, are the Raiders a good team? Are they not a good team? Did they just take a week off? I don't really get it because you can't just take weeks off right now when you're the Raiders and you're fighting for a playoff spot.
They're a game out of the playoffs.
This is the thing. The Falcons put up 43 points. Matt Ryan had under 200 yards on 39 attempts. He had 2 touchdowns and an interception. Like, he didn't play good. They weren't playing great, and they put up 43 points on them.
This is what's sad. Last year, the Raiders, I believe, were 6-5, and I think they lost to the Jets, and then it all collapsed from there. And then this year, they're 6-5, and they lost to the Falcons, and it could very well all collapse from here. I really thought this was different, but I mean, also, why was this game so long? This is what I don't understand.
Yeah, this game bled into the 4:00 window.
This was like we were in second quarter of like the 4:00 games, and this game hadn't ended yet.
It's not like there was a weather delay because they play in a dome.
Yeah, I don't know.
They play in a dome.
The Falcons are just painful, and I don't know. But let's talk about a closer game, a game that came down to the wire, and that's Patriots-Cardinals. Ooh, that's right. This was a game that the Cardinals needed to stay competitive for the West, and quite frankly, this maybe takes them out of the running a little bit. They're still in the hunt for a wild card spot, but at the same time, Belichick's still going to game plan. He's still going to take your best player out of it. Not saying, Kyler Murray had a bad game or DeAndre Hopkins had a bad game, but they were significantly limited. And when the Patriots want to try, they can. And they came out with a win.
Yeah, I think this goes back to the whole young quarterbacks really struggle against Belichick. He just does something. He knows how to make young quarterbacks. He knows how to get into their head. This is the worst Kyler Murray's played the whole season. I don't think there's any argument there. And the Patriots didn't play great either. Cam did not play good. I really didn't agree with the call on Isaiah Simmons at the end of the game. Cam was still in bounds. But the Cardinals, again, as we've said the past couple of weeks, they're still another year or so away. They got out hot in the beginning. It feels like they're a little bit further back than they actually are.
They can't generate anything when Kyler Murray is not clicking. It's almost like, I think, where a team like Seattle was last year when and even early at some points this year. It's like when Kyler loses it in the running game, which he didn't do much at all. It seems like there's nothing. It's all so predicated on him. And I mean, even with Edmonds and Drake, it just looked ugly. It is a little bizarre. And I mean, it's not like Cam lit the world on fire. It's not like really the Patriots offense lit the world on fire at all. I mean, it was really a defensive first game, which is not what a team like the Cardinals and Cliff Kingsbury are ever going to win. Good for the Patriots. They got their kicking situation figured out. And I mean, this does prove that Kingsbury and Murray are not there yet. They're not going to be Super Bowl contenders yet. I mean, the coaching is just not at a level to beat a guy like Belichick or a guy like Pete Carroll in a big game.
No, you're completely right. And only time will tell if they will get to that next level. And right now, it seems like they're on pace to, but they're not there yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my takeaway. I think the Cardinals are a little bit further back, further away. And then next year, it's not going to be so easy. The 49ers are going to get healthy again, and there's going to be the NFC West isn't going to be getting any worse, really. So
If anything, it should get better, but
we'll see. Yeah.
But let's see and move things along to Joe.
All right. So we'll do Bills Chargers. I mean, there's really not much you can say. Anthony Lynn probably should get fired. That's a takeaway. I mean, the Bills still can't put a full game of consistent football together. I mean, the fourth quarter really got out of hand. I mean, it was a lot of garbage time yards, so it's hard to really evaluate. But I mean, this was a good game if you're the Bills. I mean, they made Justin Herbert look human, like a rookie for a little while there. It's just they turn the ball over, and it's exactly what Josh Allen is and was always. He was a big play kind of quarterback who's going to sometimes throw you into games that you shouldn't be in and throw you out of games that you should be in, and that's what it is. I mean, the Chargers have a great running game, and Justin Herbert's very exciting, but it's not all there, and it's not.
Yeah,
Lynn, coach.
Lynn's been on the way out for a while. This is just another coach that it could go either way, because obviously, like Herbert's productivity within Lynn's system, it looks really good. He's doing really well this season, but on the flip side, the rest of the team isn't doing really that good or doing anything. And if Joey Bosa didn't have a good game like he did this past week, this game could have been a lot different. It could have been a lot more of a blowout, but I still think Lynn's going to get fired. I think he should have been fired last year because he has just not been good. His last playoff game was 2 years ago against Baltimore,
Patriots. Right? It was the Patriots when
that's right, because they beat Baltimore. Yeah. So I just think Lynn's gone at the end of the season. I think that's kind of what LA needs to do is just clean house and get, a more offensive-minded coach and a better just player development and game planner for Herbert to work with. Jesse, you got anything?
No, I agree. I don't think Lynn is a good coach. I think Herbert is a really good player, but he's going to need more around him. And I don't know. I think Herbert is special, and I really hope that they put something really good around him and get a coach that can really help him flourish into like the top 5 quarterback potential that he's shown.
Yeah, if we could get Herbert versus Mahomes, for the next 10 years, it could be something special to watch in the West, especially if the Raiders are competitive like they are and the Broncos keep, floundering and treading water like they're doing. They're a non-factor. But the West could be a little tighter down the road for sure. But let's move to a division. Or no, we're up to Jesse. Never mind.
Haha. Can't do that.
No.
All right. We've called them the worst team or the best worst team in the league. And they keep finding ways to lose. Panthers, Vikings. You got to feel bad for Joey Sly. It was a hard kick though. It was a 50+ yarder to win the game. So my hat goes off to him. He is one of the best kickers in the NFL. So, no love lost there. He's fantastic.
But what about
I don't really think the Vikings are that good of a team, but they're going to win enough games. They're going to trick themselves into thinking that they just got off to a slow start this year, and they're just going to bring everything back again next year, it feels like. They can't get off of Kirk Cousins. They extended him to try to help their cap situation.
What's more of like a regrettable contract, Wentz or Cousins at this point?
I would say Cousins, because at least Wentz you can make the argument he had an MVP season and you could try to fix him. Cousins has never been that guy. We
Cousins
all
is
know what
established.
Kirk
Like
Cousins
this is what he is. He's not getting better. He's good.
Yeah,
He can only get worse.
No, he's no.
If they didn't have Justin Jefferson, or they don't have Justin Jefferson, this offense looks a lot like the Titans, and where it runs through Dalvin Cook, and that's it.
Yeah, and I mean,
they would maybe have Diggs. Like, I mean, they probably.
Yeah, maybe, but you still.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I don't like the Vikings offense exclusively because Kirk Cousins is the quarterback. If you look at this offense, they have a top 2 rookie receiver, I would say, and then a top 10 wide receiver in the NFL, and then a top 5 running back with a pretty okay line, and a good set of tight ends. And then you hear that there are these spells where they just can't move the ball whatsoever for entire halves. And yeah, they are tied to the bandwagon that they signed on the dotted line, and that's Kirk Cousins, and he is holding that organization hostage. And
you reap what you sow. You let in the bed you made. This is what the Vikings have to deal with. Mike Zimmer his coaching career will live and die by Kirk Cousins. As simple as that.
Yeah.
And let's move things along to my last pick of the show, and I'm going with the Dolphins and the Jets. Another week, another Jets loss, another week that Adam Gase is still here. And quite frankly, it's probably the best case scenario that he's still here, because when Greg Williams is taking over for the Browns in the interim, they won some games. So at this point, it's the best organizational decision to keep Adam Gase there and just let him get caught in the more and more lies and just look worse and worse. And he's just killing his coaching career even more and more each week. He'll be a tight ends coach by next year at this point, because he has no idea what's going on, and the Jets, they need Trevor Lawrence bad. They lost to Ryan Fitzpatrick, which is ironic because he loves just giving it to him.
It's whatever. I mean, Sam Darnold came back with a full slate of receivers, and Adam Gase coached an Adam Gase caliber game. The Dolphins against the Jets, so we're really just getting practice out there, getting some run in, but they looked good. Defense looked good. Nice.
Yeah, no, I like the Dolphins defense. I like the Dolphins as a whole. Ryan Fitzpatrick didn't lose the game. Obviously, he won you the game, but he didn't have to do that much. He managed the game very well. He's a very good backup to have with the injured Tua, and it sounds like whenever Tua's good and ready to come back, it's his team, it's his job again. So, they're in the playoff hunt at this point, so they're just staying afloat.
And again, the Jets are really bad.
Yeah, that's a understatement to say that they're really bad. Is this going to be the worst 0-16 team we've ever seen in our time? In our time, because we've seen the Lions do it and the Browns.
Because at least the Lions and the Browns both didn't have quarterbacks.
They had pieces.
They had some
they had a direction.
Yeah, they had something. They just really didn't have any semblance of a real quarterback on the roster. And you look at the Jets and they have Darnold, and then what else do they have? Because you can argue all day and night if Darnold's a starting quarterback or if he's where he lands or whatever. But Darnold, he's a talented quarterback. There's no other talent. The second best player on the offense is a first-round pick tackle. That is their other best player.
That is their best. And it's kind of like when the Brickishaw Ferguson and Nick Mangold were their best players on offense. It's oh boy.
Yeah.
So the Jets. And it seemed like those teams, the Browns, it seemed like there was a hope on the horizon. It doesn't seem like the Jets are going to be able to.
It's because they're back to square one. No coach, no GM. Woody's coming back from Europe at this point. It's what are you doing? Yeah, they have Joe Douglas, but it's he's still tearing it down from the McCagnon era, and he's still.
And I mean,
cleaning
the
out.
Eagles and like the Eagles who he came from now look worse and worse as a
Yeah.
front office. So, I mean,
Oh,
like that was supposed to
boy.
be the big thing on him, is like he helped build the Eagles, and now it's like, oh, he helps
build
he
that.
built-
So it's like, oh, they'll win a Super Bowl, but go right back to square one the year after.
Yeah, enjoy.
Would Jet fans like that? If they get a ring out of it, yeah, they'll have another 50 years of misery, I'm sure. But oh boy, who knows at this point? And we're up to the final game. So Joe, why don't you do the honors?
I mean, if you look at the way the records all stand and the way it all shakes out, in the NFL right now, with tiebreakers, with things like that, it looks like the Cleveland Browns have the fifth best record. Just checked on that. Fifth best record in the National Football League. It hasn't been easy. This game was not pretty. It was a 2-point win against the Jaguars, but somehow they do it. Look, Jarvis Landry had a heck of a game. Best game probably as a Brown, and they're probably going to make the playoffs. And if you're Cleveland, that's really nice. It's the first time in a very long
Since like 2007, they're finishing above
I think-
500.
yeah. So
I think this is the first time since like the current iteration of the Browns, since they came back, that like, have they made the playoffs since then?
they haven't made the playoffs, I think, since
In like
since
20
I've been
years.
alive. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think.
Oof.
Yeah,
Good
I
for
can't
Cleveland. You know,
No, it really.
They're-
I mean,
again,
poo-poo on
they-
Cleveland, but it's nice. It's nice. that they're winning.
they're running through they run through bad teams.
and that's all. Hey,
Jags are a
you
bad
can't blame
team.
you can't blame the schedule makers. You know, for
No,
giving
absolutely
it to,
not. I mean,
you know, the
they're
Browns are
sitting
doing
at a
what.
very good record.
That's the thing. The
They've won
Browns
the
are
games.
doing exactly what they have to do. And when you look at your schedule, you'll see certain teams that you should beat, and they're beating those teams. It's what the Yankees do. You know, you look at the AL East, they beat up the Orioles and Red Sox, and they get into the playoffs. That's what you have to do. You beat bad teams, you will get into the playoffs. It's as simple as
gotta
that
do
for
it.
any
You
sport.
gotta do it. They don't have a bad, like, a loss they didn't, like a loss against a bad team. So I mean, good for them. And for all intents and purposes, Mike Glennon didn't look bad, whatever that means.
Remember when he was supposed to be like
Um,
the Bucks guy, and then he turned into supposed to be the Bears guy? It's
Yeah.
like, and now that he's supposed to be the guy to tank for the Jags. It's like, what are we doing here?
I don't know. Glennon's the best quarterback in that quarterback room. Not that it matters. Justin Fields is going to look pretty good in whatever color scheme that they decide to go.
It seems
with.
like
The
every
teal.
2 to 3 years they change their
The teal.
uniforms, helmets. Remember when they had the, half
teal
and
and the
half helmets?
beige.
Yeah, the half and half helmets, that ugly like mustard gold.
All right. Then we'll see the next
Alright.
episode.
That's what we're leaving on.
That's it. That's week 12. It's in the books. What a chaotic and just hellish week for the NFL, but we got through it, and we got through this podcast. So make sure to like, subscribe, follow us on all our crap. Clark usually does the outro, so he's not here, so that's all you're getting from me. But we'll have picks sometime this week, maybe, and we'll have the War Games predictions as well. And then we'll be back for the following week for the rest of our normal crap. Thanks for watching.